I once described the history of the band as being like a pram that's been pushed down a hill. There was always a hint at the back of my mind that our journey could be quite twisted. I've always wanted us to just be a band on our own. Sometimes that's worked and sometimes it's worked against us, but it's just the path we've chosen.
Suddenly, we were everywhere. There was just a sense of how far can this go?
We were much less in control of it than people might assume.
Suede started really when Simon was in the band and Bernard was in the band.
Back in my mind, I wanted it to be about songwriting. This is what I wanted to do before I met Brett, before the band evolved.
I did realise that we were on a kind of collision course, that he was always going to leave and there was nothing that I could really do.
So they invited me for an audition, but I still didn't think they'd actually offer me the job. That was never going to happen. And then it did.
Well, I don't know why they've decided this, but apparently Suede wants another member.
There was always a kind of red button of self-destruction, which has do not press above it, and everyone's going, that looks nice.
Simon did always seem to have a camera in his hand in the early days.
At the time, I hated it. But when you see the high points, and when you see the low points, I'm really glad that we had it.
When we suddenly appeared, it felt like it was this very fast, overnight kind of phenomenon. But there were many years of horrible struggle. It did feel like the longest ever overnight success.
I don't think 4 years is a long time at all for any band to kind of find their way. Sometimes it can be quite immediate. I mean, the Smiths, for example, it was 6 months later.
I was in a band when I was at college. I was 20, 21, and we were signed, and it was all over in 6 months. I don't think we even gigged.
My experience in Elastica was that it came together so fast, the sound came together really fast, it was really easy. Suede was the opposite. It was years of nothing quite working and things not quite falling into place.
I don't think we've ever had a plan. I think we had an idea of a band, but we didn't really know what to do.
There's a real quiet love and respect in Matt and Brett's relationship, for sure. The reason Suede has gone for so long is because of the strength of their relationship. I mean, they are like brothers. They've known each other forever.
I suppose it began back behind our shoulder there in the college that we both went to. I always wanted to be in a band from as long ago as I can remember, just it seeming the most natural thing that someone should do. But never seeing anyone who lived where I did who could have been in a band, you know. You didn't even see people who looked like they were in a band.
Matt had this kind of mystique, kind of a bit of an aura, which I kind of noticed from afar. He sidled up to me and we started talking about music one day. Well, you were goth, really, weren't you?
I don't think there's any way of getting around it.
There's no beating around the bush. You were definitely a goth. You used to have back-combed hair.
Yeah, paisley shirt.
And a paisley shirt.
Brett looked like a 60s B actor.
Well, I had that lemon yellow suit. I got in a sale in Top Man down in Brighton. I think I described myself as looking like a cut-price Cliff Richard, which is probably more accurate.
He was like a rare peacock that I'd never seen before. So when he walks in, you think, okay, this is different to something I've seen. I don't know what I'm seeing, but it's certainly different.
Somewhere over here, there was a sort of porter cabin, and Matt asked me to be in his band, which was called Paint It Black.
And music to me was absolutely everything.
Yeah.
It was what I thought about, it was what I wanted to do.
They were very, very much part of a gang. They self-identified. They were the cool kids.
I can remember being intensely jealous of people like Echo and the Bunnymen and the Smiths, who had these roots. Even if they fought against the roots, you know, it's like, you can't really have your roots here.
And even though Hayward Heath doesn't have an identity that we were proud of, we used the drabness, the mundanity, the dead-end nature of it to inspire what we were writing about. It became about documenting this, but a kind of escape from this as well. That sense of frustration is born from being brought up in places like this. You're always peering up the railway tracks. You're always like looking to the horizon for something because it's not there for you.
It must have been very claustrophobic for them. I see that. And, you know, they couldn't wait to get to London.
I remember seeing Brett the day that we were all signing in for our student IDs at UCL. He had sort of a long flick and he had a pair of earrings and he had a handbag. I mean, it was a lady's handbag. And I had this moment of thinking, is that a boy or a girl? And just finding him devastatingly attractive. But I just knew that we were going to be together. Within a few weeks of meeting Brett, he took me back to his house in Finsbury Park, and there were 6 guys living there. Matt was one of them.
Justine, I met her as Brett's girlfriend before we ever kind of made music together. And he brought back this incredible girl, just so smart and so funny.
Justine was a huge, huge influence on me in terms of kind of who I became as a person. If I hadn't have met Justine, I possibly wouldn't be sitting here. And absolutely, definitely in terms of what Suede became, even though when we first appeared, she wasn't in the band.
She pushed Suede really hard.
It wasn't a band at that point. You know, it was 3 of us messing about in a bedroom. But I'm pretty sure that I was a big part of trying to get it out of the bedroom and onto some sort of stage somewhere.
We'd put an advert in, The Enemy, and we'd met a couple of people.
I remember there were a stream of really improbable people turning up who were either 55 or full-on punks with huge Mohicans.
And Bernard came over, and he looked really, really young. I can remember him asking how old we were, and said, oh, we're 23, and him being kind of like, well, you better get a move on then. He sat and played the guitar, and it just poured out of him. It was one of those really obvious moments he left, and we were just like, well, we don't need to look for anyone else.
But that was the moment where it seemed like it could be really good.
From the very start, I mean, there's like a whole phase before making the first album when we were sort of a different band, really, and not very good.
They're quite fade, the very early Suede songs. It was kind of like, well, we really need a drummer. I think we thought it was going to be really easy.
Justin Welsh, who ended up being the drummer from Elastica, he was in the band for about 3 weeks, and we found out that he was in 6 other bands.
Mike Joyce contacting us and coming for an audition was one of the strangest things that ever happened to us.
I remember actually sitting in a lecture and Brett coming up to me with a handwritten note saying, Mike Joyce wants to audition for the band.
The way that Bernard and Brett and Matt worked together, you know, that was the foundation of really, of something quite good.
We went up and did some demos with Mike.
It never would have worked. We would have been Mike Joyce's new band.
It was there. It was just a matter of getting the right pieces of the jigsaw. To me, Suede kind of nailed that with Sam.